this shit up, man.
I'm sorry.
We don't got time for this shit. You got a game
Magnet
tonight.
sometimes
I don't give a
doesn't
fuck.
You brought the gems.
So this has to be one of the most uncomfortable scenes I've seen in a long time. And today I want to break down why Uncut Gems, and this scene in particular, feels so unbearable to watch. But before I get into that, a little context.
Why the f would you show me something if I couldn't have it then?
You see, the other day I rewatched the film, and something struck me that I don't think people talked about much when it first came out. The opening. Mainly because it reminded me of another movie that on the surface has absolutely nothing to do with it. The Exorcist. I don't know if it's a conscious reference or just coincidence, but if you think about it, bizarre as it sounds, the two actually have a lot in common. Both begin with a prologue set in some distant corner of the world, in the middle of workers laboring under harsh conditions, with the idea of a cursed object. Only that, while in The Exorcist a demon statuette is unearthed, here it's the opal, the object at the center of the story, and the one that will ultimately seal Howard's fate. But it's not just movie curse. We actually see the miners working under harsh and unfair conditions for a foreign corporation. So, beyond all the symbolism, the stone is already linked to real human struggle. And that lands hard, because it isn't some abstract horror, it's the same reality behind the microchips in our phones or the clothes we wear, stitched together in factories halfway across the world.
You gave some from Ethiopia 100 grand for something you thought was worth $1 million. You don't see nothing wrong with that house?
In other words, the film opens by telling us that this system only exists because of that initial injustice. And in a way, Howard is the personification of that system, always craving more and more until it eventually burns itself out. That's why he's the perfect character through whose eyes the Safdie brothers capture the suffocating nature of our time. That's why they've worked so hard to make the film feel almost like a documentary, not just through the rough handheld camera, but through the world it builds.
About to win money. Jason's about to pay me $25 for the first half. Double that up. Last half, we might get $50.
There's almost a sense of resignation from the Safdies, as if the forces driving Howard, ambition and consumption, are just laws of nature.
I admit it. I made a bet.
A kind of energy that seeps into every corner of the world they've built, and it shows up in the smallest details, like the dozens of absurdly expensive objects with no purpose other than pure showmanship, or a gaudy necklace that turns Michael Jackson into some kind of messiah, as if fame, wealth, and success were our new religion.
I don't even know what to do with my money anymore. I have nobody to spend it with, nobody to enjoy my life with anymore. It's horrible.
Or even an old gambler bragging about having more money than he could ever spend, trying to buy Howard's girlfriend with it. And of course, all the people orbiting Howard.
When you win, it's all that matters. You know, the big be quiet, the big shut up, you know?
Garnett chasing athletic glory, Howard's business partners always looking to climb higher.
No touching.
Even his girlfriend willing to play her own game if it means closing a deal.
Blue, a huge sell for me!
Why were you selling?
But the most striking examples are quieter.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Like Howard's son casually betting on a basketball game, or the school play, where his daughter wanders into a forest looking for roses only to spit out gold coins. And like I said, capturing the essence of our era isn't just about what the film shows, but how it shows it. And in that sense, I don't think anyone has done it quite like Uncut Gems. Take The Bear, for example. To me, it's another work of the moment that also captures the spirit of our world. But there, even though the soundscape is relentlessly overstimulating, the visuals stay more grounded. It's fast and chaotic, sure, but there's a kind of harmony to the madness, almost choreographed at times.
Hey, Chi-Chi, it's Carm. You still got that meat connect?
Maybe that's because in The Bear, this is the natural environment for its characters.
Every second counts. Yeah. 3.
I mean, the pressure is something to be mastered, and as a viewer, you're forced to live in that whirlwind. And once you settle into it, you start to feel a rhythm. Almost like Carmy himself, you end up enjoying it. Here, though, there's no way the chaos can be enjoyable. Even in Howard's so-called victories, they don't really feel like victories. They feel more like fleeting highs, moments of pleasure that are empty at its core. Like when he wins his first bet, basically reacting like it's the happiest ending imaginable, if you know what I mean.
Everything I do is not going right.
Or later, when the auction goes south, but Garnett suddenly wants to buy the stone.
Okay.
I'll see you soon. Goodbye.
In a split second, Howard swings from despair to euphoria. But it doesn't play like an achievement. It plays like a hit of something addictive, with music in the background that almost feels like it's coming from a slot machine. And we know, even if we don't want to admit it, this can't possibly end well. And of course, the film is packed with formal choices that put us right inside Howard's state of mind, and the constant rush he's trapped in. Like the fact that Howard never stops moving, even when he's alone in a room. And the camera mirrors him, never staying still either. But I think the clearest example of how the Safdies use editing, sound, camera, and performance all at once is in this scene. And that's what I want to dive into now. But before we get into this suffocating sequence, let me tell you about something that helps me unwind a little. Because just like Adam Sandler surprised everyone with his comeback in Uncut Gems, today's sponsor, Raycon, is doing the same. Bringing back the everyday earbuds classic, now with active noise cancellation. Thing is, I've been using mine for a couple of months now, and honestly, they've become part of everything I do, whether it's a walk to clear my head, hitting the gym, or just editing on my PC. And it honestly feels like forever since I last charged them because I barely even think about it. They've got 8 hours of playtime and up to 32 with the case, so they're always good to go. And the great thing about this new version is that it comes with active noise cancellation, which makes it so much easier to focus on what you're doing and nothing else. And if you still want to keep an ear on what's happening around you, like walking down the street and not wanting to get run over, there's awareness mode, which you can switch on with just the side buttons, and those same buttons also let you skip tracks, so it's great because you don't even need to take your phone out. Plus, if you want to style them up, they've got protective cases in different colors that look awesome. Honestly, you get premium quality here, just without the premium price. So if this sounds like something you'd enjoy, go to buyraycon.com/Lancelotti to get 20% off the fan favorite everyday earbuds classic. So big thanks to Raycon for sponsoring today's video.
I'm here to bother yo.
I know it is.
What's going on?
So this scene happens after Howard lends the opal to Garnett.
Well, let me hold it for a night then. Right? Let me wait till the game. It'll be cool. No, I'm going.
And Garnett holds on to it for days.
They're waiting for us. Where's the fucking open?
Garnett got it.
And after trying over and over to get it back, he ends up calling Garnett's assistant to basically threaten them.
And I am a second away from hanging up right now and calling my lawyer and the police.
And of course, it's exactly at the moment when Garnett is already on his way back with the stone.
Kevin! Hey!
And what follows is 2 entire minutes of trying to get the door open so Howard can get back what we so desperately want him to get back.
Hey! Buzz the man in.
Right from the start, there's an intention to make us impatient, because in a movie where cuts are constantly used, and we're accustomed to a frenetic pace of action and editing, the Safdie brothers decide to follow the action in a continuous take that, with those small pans, gives us almost 3 seconds where we have no visual information. And this happens a lot in the scene, where the camera often doesn't cut. We don't do this, going from shot A to shot B. Instead, we do this, building this sense of expectation, where we only have the sound of the doorbell that logically bothers us because from a sound design perspective, they chose a pretty jarring one. And this is something we'll see constantly throughout the scene, with an orchestra of sounds ranging from tools, the rattling of the door's glass panels, doorbells, and of course, lots of dialogue. But it's less about what's being said and more about how it just turns into background noise. And this idea of breaking conventions is especially evident in how the Safdies handle rhythm, because usually what you're looking for in a scene is a balance between action, dialogue, and silence. You don't want long stretches where nothing's going on, and you don't want everything crashing down all at once either. You want it to feel balanced, but here it's the exact opposite. You get these moments of waiting,
Hurry up. Right there.
and then sudden bursts of pure overload.
Start the gym. I'm close to full. Okay, all right, good. There it is.
And this is something the Safdie brothers do all the time, and you can see it, for example, in this scene from Good Time.
Alright, he's coming.
I tell you.
Where Connie, Robert Pattinson's character, is on his way to a bail bond office to pay his brother's bail, since his brother's locked up, and he's just asked his girlfriend to use his mom's credit card to cover it.
$10,000.
Yeah. Hey, you do credit, right?
Yeah.
On one hand, since the directors know we're anxious, they suddenly stop the rhythm of a movie that's constantly in frantic mode. Instead of using ellipses, or focusing on secondary actions, they do this.
She's paying already.
I got you. You're being pushy.
Thank you.
And it might seem like a minor detail, but it's not when the movie is constantly saturating your senses. And doing this is a whole other way of playing with your nerves, especially because then, when the girlfriend's mother's card doesn't work,
Card is declined.
this happens.
Wait, can you not call someone?
Give me a second. I'm gonna call corrections and I'll see what I can find out.
Gonna punch the
Hey, Julian.
numbers and then
How's everything?
it's
Listen,
my
I got a
mom.
case.
If before you had waiting, now you have a saturation of simultaneous elements like the phone, the woman's voice, the man's voice, the cell phone ringing, the girlfriend's voice,
I'm so sorry.
or even the sound of Robert Pattinson's clothes or breathing that in any other movie they would try to turn down the volume. Here, it's the same thing.
Go to the other buzzer, please. Hurry up. Hurry up.
They could decide to skip these seconds and simply cut to when he's pressing the button, but they choose to leave us with that pan to reinforce the idea of waiting, when in any other movie we would have stayed with Howard and Garnett the whole time.
Hang on, sorry. I'm sorry.
As you can see, everything in this movie is visual saturation, which is perhaps the innovation compared to Good Time, where the settings tend to be simpler and just accompanied by neon tints. Here, not only do you have busy backgrounds, but instead of using a polarizing filter that prevents reflections on glass, which is constantly used in cinema, here they don't use them, which is a deliberate detail that adds yet another layer of visual noise to the image.
Brought the gem.
In a normal movie, we would have these dialogues separated. I mean, Howard would ask about the gem a bit earlier, and the dialogue where he says he's claustrophobic could be in any of the other empty spaces, like during the camera pans. And it's somewhat similar to what they do in this scene from Good Time.
It's a bail bonds place. So the thing is this. The thing is, Mom, we get the money back.
Call you back, Bobby.
Mom.
And I keep bringing it up because it genuinely feels like a rehearsal for one of the core elements of Uncut Gems. Characters trapped in tight spaces, agitated, and on edge.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Naturally, once he reveals the stone, our anxiety kicks into overdrive because it's the dramatic pivot of the scene. And yet, rather than picking up the pace like any conventional scene might, the Safdies do the exact opposite.
Get a fucking happy. Move your head.
They slow down the rhythm of the scene, going back to that idea of contrasts, the overload we just went through versus the stillness we get now, with this 20-second shot of some random guy walking off to grab a hammer that feels like an eternity. Plus, of course, the sound of the saw is even more unbearable, though not as much as the hammer. Or like the doorbell that rings 2 seconds later from another guy Howard owes money to.
Get rid of this. I'm trying to get. Tell him goodbye.
Again, same structure, waiting and saturation. Instead of, say, using that man's doorbell ring to fill the dead space during the other guy's walk, there's a deliberate misuse of rhythm.
Just get me some fucking metal shavings
And that's something we see again, right here. This time, it's a 30-second shot, with 17 of those seconds following this man's journey, once again playing with the urgency of the situation. The scene jumps from a moment where nothing's happening, to one where way too much happens all at once, and then back again to another stretch of nothing, where you're just left waiting.
Come on, man. What the fuck are you doing?
I saw.
Courtside seat.
And then, of course, following that same structure, we jump back into a moment where everything happens at once. This guy's trying to fix the door, Kevin's showing he's got the money to buy the gem, and Howard's trying to negotiate. And this back and forth carries on until the very end of the scene, when they finally get in.
The door don't work. What's going
Get
on
them
here,
some
man?
waters. Get the cold waters.
But what's interesting is that throughout the whole scene, and really throughout the whole movie, the Safdie brothers are constantly trying to capture performances in the most natural way possible. And it's not just the performances, it's everything they put on screen. And what I find curious is that the norm in cinema is usually to avoid breaking certain conventions in order to preserve the illusion of fiction. But here it's the opposite. Breaking those rules actually makes the fiction feel more real. And every decision comes back to that idea, making the world they're showing feel like a slice of our own. You can see it in the way they bring in elements from real life, like the fact that the final game is an actual one that really happened, or in the inclusion of real pop culture figures. Or even in how the supporting characters in the Diamond District are actual jewelers who really work there. And again, you can see it in the camera work. In the exterior scenes, the camera was sometimes hidden, and the extras didn't even realize they were in a movie. Even the actors often had no idea where the camera was filming from, so they weren't playing to a mark. They were performing in 360 degrees, to the point they weren't acting, they were just being the character. And I think that energy carries into these interior scenes too.
That's it. 3 more. 3 more. Way to go.
To me, that's what makes the film, and this scene in particular, stand out. It doesn't feel staged. It collapses the line between fiction and reality until what we're watching feels less like cinema and more like lived experience.